The City in Fear, setting the stage. New Orleans, 1918. A city of music, mystery, and mingled cultures. By day, the streets bustled with jazz musicians, street vendors, and the clang of the streetcar bell. But by night, an invisible tension curled through the gaslit alleys like smoke, thick, choking, and unnamed. Joseph Maggio wiped down the counter of his small grocery shop as the last customer exited. He glanced toward the back room, where his wife Catherine was folding linens, her brow furrowed with quiet worry. War in Europe had taken its toll on business, but lately, something darker gripped the neighborhood. Strange rumors passed in whispers, break-ins with nothing stolen, doors found ajar in the morning, soft noises in the night that left no prints. "I'll lock up," Joseph said, trying to smile. Catherine nodded, but her eyes lingered on the door longer than usual. They had lived in New Orleans their whole lives. But this fear, it was new. It didn't come with a face or a name. Just a feeling. That night the city slept restlessly. Dogs barked at shadows, and windows stayed shuttered. Somewhere in the darkness, a man moved quietly. No one saw him approach the Maggio home. No one heard the back panel of the door being removed, piece by piece, until the night let him in. Joseph awoke to a dull pain, then to the sudden absence of everything. Blood. So much of it. Catherine, beside him, moaned once and fell silent. He staggered to his feet, bleeding, broken, but alive. He stumbled outside, collapsing in the arms of his brother, who lived just next door. By dawn, the news had spread. A killer had struck without warning, and with chilling precision. Nothing was stolen. The only clue, a blood-stained axe left near the back door. It belonged to the Maggios themselves. The police arrived, confused and unprepared. The newspapers were faster. "Murder in the night, grocery couple slain in bed," screamed the headlines. Whispers turned into panic. Theories blossomed like weeds: Italian mafia, madmen, even voodoo. But none fit. More chilling than the murder was what came next. A note appeared, nailed to a telephone pole not far from the scene. Scrawled in uneven handwriting, it read, "I am not a man. I am a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you fear when the music stops." People read it in horror. Was it real? A hoax? The police dismissed it. But the people didn't. They locked their doors with trembling hands. Fathers sat up at night with shotguns across their laps. Mothers hushed crying children and whispered prayers in Sicilian and French. The Maggios were buried side by side within days. Their shop remained closed, its windows dark and untouched. And just like that, a new name was born from fear: the Axeman. The city held its breath. Because something had awakened in New Orleans, something that thrived in silence, and struck when no one was listening. Patterns in blood, the investigation begins. The Axeman did not wait long to strike again. Weeks after the Maggio murders, New Orleans tried to return to normal. But normal no longer existed. The sound of jazz still spilled from bars, but the joy behind it had withered. People glanced over their shoulders, double-bolted doors, and whispered of shadows that moved without footsteps. Then came Louis Bessumer. It was early morning when a bakery delivery boy knocked at the rear entrance of Bessumer's grocery. No answer. He knocked again. Then, hearing a faint groan, he pushed the door open. What he found inside chilled him to the bone. Louis lay in a pool of blood behind the counter, his skull fractured by repeated blows. His mistress, Harriet Lowe, had been attacked too. Both were still alive, but barely. The back door had been forced open. The axe was left behind once more, this time, also belonging to the victims. Again, nothing had been stolen. Word spread faster than police could respond. 2 attacks. Same pattern. Same silence. Same weapon. Detectives scrambled for leads. Louis, despite his injuries, became a suspect himself. He was a German immigrant, and anti-German sentiment ran high in wartime America. But nothing stuck. Harriet Lowe, before slipping into a coma, named him as her attacker. Then, days later, she died from her wounds. The case went cold. And yet, the city was boiling. Italian-American grocers were the common link. Whispers in backrooms accused the mafia, but there was no ransom, no message, no theft, only death. The Axeman was different. He didn't want money or vengeance. He wanted fear. And New Orleans gave it freely. A third attack came in August. Anna Schneider, 8 months pregnant, was beaten in her bed. Her husband returned home to find her dazed, bleeding yet alive. No door was broken this time, but a window pane had been carefully removed. Again, a household axe was found nearby. Again, the police had no leads. 3 attacks, one after another. The press named him the Axeman of New Orleans, a name that burned through every headline, etched into the minds of a terrified public. By September, fear had metastasized into paranoia. Every creak at night, every gust of wind tapping a shutter, felt like a harbinger. Local authorities were overwhelmed. Witness descriptions, if any, conflicted wildly: tall, short, black, white, clean-shaven, bearded. The killer moved like a ghost through locked doors and vanished without a trace. Then came the letter. Published in the local paper, the note was signed simply, "The Axeman." It read like madness and music combined. "They have never caught me and they never will. I am not a human being but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. On the night of March 19th, I will pass over New Orleans. Everyone playing jazz will be spared. Those who do not, I will visit." The city shuddered. It wasn't just a killer now. It was a performance. A challenge. And the music would decide who lived. Dance with the Devil, the Jazz Night Mass Hysteria. March 19th, 1919. The sun dipped behind the Mississippi River, and as darkness crept into New Orleans, it brought with it a tension so thick it silenced even the most skeptical hearts. People stood in doorways, clutching radios and phonographs, their fingers trembling as they placed needles to records. Jazz, once just background noise to daily life, had become something sacred. Something desperate. The city was holding its breath. Inside a cramped parlor, 12-year-old Maria Giordano sat with her family. Her father, a butcher, was tuning a violin he hadn't touched in years. "Just in case," he muttered, forcing a smile. Outside, neighbors shouted across balconies, "You got music? Play it loud!" A trumpet wailed down the block. A piano pounded from the floor above. Gramophones crackled to life in every home. The Axeman had given his terms: play jazz or die. No one knew if the letter had been real or the rambling of a lunatic. But no one was willing to take that chance. Not tonight. As night fell, New Orleans became a symphony of survival. Streets usually silent after dark now pulsed with chaotic harmony. Jazz bands performed on rooftops. Dancers filled living rooms, turning terror into movement. It was defiance through rhythm, fear drowned in saxophone and syncopation. Some tried to laugh, to toast, to treat it like a party. But everyone watched the windows. Everyone waited for a scream. None came. Midnight passed. Then 1 a.m. Still, the music never stopped. Even the drunks didn't dare fall asleep without a record spinning beside them. The only thing louder than the brass and drums was the silence of the killer. He didn't come. The next morning, the city stirred with the eerie disorientation of waking from a nightmare. No blood. No shattered doors. No stolen lives. Had they really danced their way out of death? Some called it a miracle. Others, a mockery. But everyone agreed on one thing: the Axeman had controlled the city with nothing but a promise, and the people had obeyed. For a brief moment, jazz wasn't just music. It was armor. Still, the relief was short-lived. The fear never fully left. And though the Axeman vanished that night, the message he delivered remained clear: he could return. Anytime. Anywhere. With or without warning. The psychological scar he left ran deeper than the wounds on his victims. The Axeman had turned an entire city into unwilling performers, their instruments a shield against death. Historians would later marvel at it: the night a killer made an entire city play for its life. A night where the line between horror and art blurred under the dim glow of gaslights and the haunting call of a trumpet. And somewhere, perhaps watching from a distance, the Axeman listened. Smiling. Disappearing into darkness, the vanishing killer. The Axeman didn't need a goodbye. He simply vanished. After the jazz-filled night of March 19, 1919, weeks passed with no murders. The city exhaled, but not completely. Every silence felt suspicious. Every creaking floorboard could be his return. Yet the killer who had once moved like a shadow across New Orleans now left nothing. No murders. No notes. Just absence. Then, in August, the silence broke. An elderly grocer named Steve Boca was attacked in his home. He survived, barely. Again, the method was familiar: a chiseled panel, an axe, a crushed skull. But he couldn't remember the attacker's face. No one could. A month later, Sarah Lawman, a young woman living alone, was found unconscious in her bed with a fractured skull and missing teeth. Her axe lay nearby. Like the others, she survived. Like the others, she saw nothing. Heard nothing. The final known victim came just weeks later, Mike Pepitone. His wife found him dead, his head battered in, their bedroom painted in blood. She claimed to see a man fleeing into the night, broad shoulders, maybe a hat, but no clear details. And then, that was it. No more letters. No more warnings. No more Axeman. The killing stopped. Investigators remained baffled. Over a dozen victims, most of them Italian grocers, all attacked in the same brutal fashion. The killer never stole a dime. Never left fingerprints. He entered homes like vapor and exited like myth. Rumors flared. Some believed it was multiple killers working together. Others insisted it was one man driven by madness or hatred. A popular theory emerged: a man named Joseph Mumford, an alleged extortionist with ties to Italian gangs. He was shot dead in Los Angeles in late 1919 by the widow of Mike Pepitone, who claimed he had murdered her husband. Some newspapers ran with the idea. Axeman finally killed? Read the headlines. But there was no evidence linking Mumford to the crimes. Just a convenient coincidence and a grieving widow with a revolver. Officially, the case remains unsolved. Unofficially, the Axeman became a ghost. Over the decades, his legend grew. He appeared in pulp novels, crime anthologies, even television. He became a folk demon of New Orleans, whispered about in dim bars and schoolyards. Not just a murderer, but a symbol of chaos, of the fragile line between safety and savagery. The survivors never forgot. Some left the city. Others carried the weight of that night for the rest of their lives. Those who played jazz believed they were spared by sound. Those who didn't never got the chance to wonder. And New Orleans? It never stopped playing. Perhaps out of love. Perhaps out of fear. Because somewhere, in the quietest corner of a darkened room, the Axeman could still be listening. And if he is, he's waiting for silence.